Hello, this is FlippedHarber for Algebra 2. In this video we'll cover section 3.2 using algebraic methods to solve linear systems. Our objectives for this lesson are to solve systems of equations using substitution and elimination. And that's basically our outline for this video. We're going to talk about substitution and then using elimination to solve equations. Now, when we talk about using substitution, basically what it means is that we want to solve one equation for a variable. Now sometimes one equation is already going to be solved for a variable, so you might not need to do that step. Then we're just going to plug into the other equation. So for this one, the top equation is already solved for y, so I don't need to do that first step. I would just go ahead and substitute into the second equation wherever I see y, 3x plus 2. So let's do that. Let's solve this system by substitution. Again, the top one is already solved for y. So in the second equation, I'm going to replace that y with 3x plus 2. Now notice I've got it in parentheses. That 3 in front of the parentheses will multiply the 3x and the 2. I should go ahead and do that as my next step. I get 2x plus 9x plus 6 equals 17. So now it's just an equation to solve. I combine like terms, I subtract over the 6, and now when I divide by the 11, I get x equals 1. Now that's only half of my solution. I found out what x is, now I have to find out what y is. And now I go back to one of my equations, and I'm going to plug in what x equals and solve for y. So it would make the most sense to plug it into that top equation. It's already solved for y, so when I plug in my x value, I'll see what my y value is. So I plug in the one that I found, and I find out that y equals 5. So my two answers are that x equals 1 and y equals 5. The way that I should report this answer is as an ordered pair. 1, 5 in parentheses. Alright, now let's take a look at another substitution situation. Now I could solve the top equation for x or y pretty easily. I could solve the bottom equation for x or y. I'd end up with a fraction, but I don't need to solve totally for x or totally for y. Take a look at the first two terms in both equations. They're both 2x. So I'm going to do something a little bit different. I'm going to solve the top equation. Oops, that's supposed to be a 26. I don't know how I got to 13. But solve that top equation for 2x. And then substitute that in. Now, you see it's a 26 minus 2y minus 3y. I replaced the whole the whole 2x with the 26 minus 2y. Combining like terms and solving for the y, I get y equals 5. Now, I just need to plug that y into one of my other equations and solve for the x. I find out that x equals 8. Again, I need to report my answer as an ordered pair. In this case, 8, 5. Always the x value, comma, the y value. Again, that top line in the first column, that's supposed to be 2x equals 26 minus 2y. I don't know where I got the 13. Alright, let's talk about elimination. Now, in elimination, we want to multiply an equation by a real number. I'm going to multiply it by 2 or 3 or 4, something like that, to get coefficients to match. Now again, that first step might be done for us. Two coefficients might already match before we even get started. Then we just add or subtract entire equations to remove one variable. So the first thing I need to do with the elimination is I need to decide which two numbers can I get to match? So here's an example. 2x plus 3y equals 4, and 4x minus 2y equals negative 8. Which two numbers can I get to equal the easiest? Well, I can make both x terms 4 just by multiplying the entire top equation by 2. Don't just multiply the x part, multiply the whole equation by 2. Now that my two x terms match, I'm going to subtract. So I'm going to take the top equation minus the bottom equation. So 4x minus 4x. Those x terms are going to cancel. 6y minus negative 2y, well, that's 8y, equals, and now 8 minus a negative 8 gives me a positive 16. Solving for the y, I get y equals 2. Now, again, that's half the story. I need to figure out what my x is. So I'm going to take that 2 and plug it into one of my original equations. And my video, there we go. So I chose the top equation, doesn't really matter which equation. I'm just going to replace the y with a 2. And then I go through the process to solve for x. Subtract that 6 over. Divide by the 2, I get x equals negative 1. Again, my answer needs to be in ordered pair form. Okay, so that's solving systems by substitution and elimination. We're going to spend a couple days on this, I think, because this is a really important process for you to be able to do really, really well. So, time to get to work. I'll see you in class and I'll see you online.